7. Fill in the blanks. If I keep having a reputation for, fill in. Biggest weakness, I won't get to the next level, which will nullify all my hard work. I will address this deficiency by. Chapter 6. Mission and Plan. A small body of determined spirits fired by an unquenchable faith in their mission can alter the course of history. Mahatma Gandhi. Imagine a boring CEO at the annual kickoff meeting, reading off PowerPoint slides and walking the team through precise Excel spreadsheets. He is prepared, organized, and specific. He's giving a clinic on how to plan for a successful year, and he has the evidence to back up how the firm will grow revenue and expand into new markets. So why is no one listening? Now imagine Steve Jobs, in his trademark black turtleneck, blue jeans, and sneakers, standing up in front of his team at Apple, talking about how they are going to change the world. There are no PowerPoint slides. The company's mission is etched in his soul. He looks at the crowd and boldly proclaims something like, "Our mission is to make a contribution to the world by making tools for the mind that advance humankind." There's a roar. The crowd goes nuts. They're ready to take over the world. Why? Because they know their mission, and it's a mission that inspires them. Jobs can't stop there. Once he has told them why, he must next tell them how. They are primed to hear and execute whatever plan he lays out. The logical CEO, on the other hand, has nowhere to go. The minute he lost his audience, there was no getting them back. By now we understand that emotion and logic must always be intertwined. Not just in every business plan or quarterly meeting, but in every sales call, team huddle, and Zoom call. For the next 2 building blocks, this couldn't be more true. Mission is highly emotional, and plan is highly logical. Neither is optional. Having a mission creates endurance. It allows you to tolerate the pain you're going to go through. You don't want to compete with a man or a woman on a mission. You want to join someone on a mission. In fact, without a strong mission, you're not going to attract the right people to you. You're just another company to work for, another person solely driven by money. When that's the case, you'll face the constant threat of people leaving you. What you will learn in this chapter: you will learn how to establish your mission, articulate it, and draw constant inspiration from it. Notice I didn't say motivation. When you're on a mission, you don't need motivation. You are driven by the fire from within. And unlike dreams and goals, which we'll cover in later building blocks, your mission does not have a timeline. As we dig deeper, you'll see why, for both you and your business, your mission is something that extends beyond one goalpost. You're also going to learn how to channel that mission into a plan. This will include a SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, so you know exactly where to direct your efforts. You will also learn how to anticipate a crisis and always stay 3 to 5 moves ahead. Recruit your mission. When we're talking about your mission, recruiting is an inside job. I use the word recruit differently than most. To me, everything is recruiting. It's going out and making things happen, whether it's finding talent for your company or gaining clarity about your mission. With your mission, it's not always right in front of you, which is why you have to recruit it and bring it toward you. To be more specific about recruiting your mission, there are 4 things you can do to make it come alive for you. 4 ways to recruit your mission. 1. Take the time to see what moves you. 2. Determine what you're sick and tired of. 3. Ask, What sets me off? Foresee what bothers you so much that you won't be able to live with yourself if you don't do something about it. Because it's emotional, there are some parallels to choosing your enemies when figuring out your mission. It may help to think about when you felt like an underdog or when you felt shame. What is so important that you want to dedicate your life to fixing or improving? At Valuetainment, we spent years not just thinking about our mission, but finding the exact words to articulate it. The mission is to enlighten, empower, and entertain current and future leaders around the world. Here are excellent examples of mission statements from three very different companies. Patagonia, we're in business to save our home planet. TED, spread ideas. Tesla, to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. Here are the personal mission statements of three popular people. Oprah Winfrey, to be a teacher, and to be known for inspiring my students to be more than they thought they could be. Walt Disney, to make people happy. Denise Morrison, former CEO of Campbell Soup Company, to serve as a leader, live a balanced life, and apply ethical principles to make a significant difference. For all of these companies and individuals, the mission is ongoing. Their plans come from their mission, and though plans have life cycles, the overall mission is never complete. If you make up a mission statement just to put it on your website, it's a bunch of BS. It won't inspire you. In fact, the people who do that are the ones who are constantly looking for motivation. I've looked at a lot of the literature on writing mission statements. It's mostly tedious stuff that makes writing business plans a chore. Rather than think about formulas, I want you to feel what actually moves you. Now is the time to get real about what you really want to do with your life. Here are a few questions to guide you. 1. What cause are you fighting for? 2. What injustice are you correcting? 3. What crusade are you leading? Recruiting your mission requires you to get quiet. This is something you do on your own before you get with your team. Turn off your phone and take the time to look inside yourself. Ask these questions and really take the time to discover the answers. It may take a few hours or it may take a few months. It's not something you search for. It's something you allow to reveal itself. Maybe it's from a part of you that's been hiding, or something you've been denying. As much as I want to help lead you to your mission, the best I can do is keep giving you the questions to ask and the exercises to try that will help you look inside yourself. One of those exercises comes from a book called The Leaderless Revolution: How Ordinary People Will Take Power and Change Politics in the 21st Century, written by a former British diplomat to Iran named Karen Ross. Ross says that the people who start revolutions or do something big or disruptive are those who take action based on three things. 1. What they love. 2. What they hate. 3. What bothers them. I have painful memories from my childhood, including my parents' divorce and my experiences with communism before our family fled Iran. But don't for a minute think I'm asking for sympathy or calling myself a victim. In fact, it's the scars from manipulation, game playing, silencing, and communism that led me to choose the ideological enemies that created my mission. When I stopped being angry about my childhood and started reflecting on it, I got closer to discovering my mission. I'll share some more stories in this chapter, but for now I want you to get uncomfortable. What do you hate? What is something you can't stand? Who is getting bullied that you want to stand up for? If it's you or the people close to you, you will really be onto something. Who do you love that needs help? What bothers you? Produces juice. It creates the emotion that you need. Finding something that bothers you doesn't always have to be this deep or personal. Maybe you love the smell of a clean bathroom or can't stand toxic fragrances. With this thought, a lucrative business may be waiting to be discovered. Puri's mission statement is to delightfully shift the way the world thinks about the things they've always done. According to Inc., it is a $400 million company. Whether this started with founder Susie Batai's love of a clean bathroom, hatred of a smelly one, or being bothered by synthetic fragrances, this is a woman who had bankrupted 2 businesses before connecting to her mission. It also explains why she's not slowing down. Even after making a fortune with the original product, POO Puri, Batai's launched a line of natural cleaning products, because her mission is to shift the way things have always been done. These examples are for you to continue thinking about your mission. Keep asking these questions: what do you love? What do you hate? What bothers you? How I found my mission. Now that you've seen how others have found their mission, you should be formulating some ideas. In my 20s, I was fueled by proving my enemies wrong, making money, and gaining respect. Looking back, it's pretty normal for people in their 20s to be focused on selfish goals. In December 2008, 6 years after the enemies spoke to my dad at that holiday party, all my effort started to pay off. I was doing well for a 30-year-old. I traveled all over the world. I spoke in front of 10,000 people, and I also spoke at my high school as the inspirational Rags Torish's success story. I also heard the magical words from my parents. You know what those words are: I'm proud of you. I believed them, which should have brought peace. So why was I not content? Why was I not fulfilled? Why did I feel like something was missing? At the end of 2008, I started thinking about the upcoming year and wondering, is this all there is to life? All these things I had to go through, were they just to make money? Is this all there is? Why do I need to get out of bed every morning when I'm already wealthier than my wildest dreams? I knew in my gut that there had to be something bigger than the life I was living. Looking back, I was dancing around the real question. What is my mission? I tried to rededicate myself. I read motivational books and signed up for motivational workshops. But nothing changed. I couldn't find anything to get me going. Looking back, the one area where I can give myself credit is that I was actively recruiting my mission. I asked a lot of questions. I sat down with mentors. I sought the counsel of my pastor, Dudley Rutherford. I asked friends to tell me where my blind spots were. One of those friends, Bill Vogel, invited me to a meeting at the Miramar Hotel in Santa Monica, California, for the Claremont Institute think tank. It was March 2009, and my year was off to a solid but unspectacular start. I was able to coast and still make good money, which taught me how comfort can be one of life's biggest drags on urgency. I lacked an enemy and a mission, which explains why I felt so directionless. I pulled up to the Miramar Hotel in my yellow Corvette Z06 wearing a Hugo Boss pinstriped suit. I found myself sitting next to Pat Boone, the famous singer and actor. There were plenty of bigwigs, and none of their speeches did anything to inspire me. I came hoping to get some answers. And I was afraid I was going to leave with none. Then George Will, a political commentator, author, and Pulitzer Prize winner, stood up to speak. In 1986, the Wall Street Journal called Will perhaps the most powerful journalist in America. Through 3 powerful stories, Will started talking about how lawyers are ruining the country. The first was about a frivolous lawsuit from a kid who swallowed a fishhook and sued the manufacturer. The next was about how the obesity epidemic was directly related to the number of parks in America that were shutting down. In the third story, he tied it all together by explaining how lawyers sit in parks and wait for kids to fall so that they can sue the city. Looking back, I realize that George Will had a masterful way of blending emotion and logic. He was this conservative-looking guy dressed in a suit, with nerdy glasses, who could cite facts with the best of them. He wasn't brash like Bill O'Reilly or funny like Jon Stewart, but believe me, you could feel his emotion. He knew how to tug at your heartstrings. For 1 hour, he told stories about all the problems in America, and I can honestly say that I have never been more inspired. Suddenly, I felt as though the world was looking for somebody to go out there and help solve these problems. I had this notion that God Himself was calling on me to be one of these people. When the event ended, my friend Bill introduced me to George and said, "What could you tell Patrick? He's 30 years old. He's done very well in sales at a young age. But he feels he needs a mission to take his life to the next level." George said, "Where are you from, and what's your background like?" When I told him I was from Iran, he asked me more about my family. I told him that my mom's family was communist and my dad was an imperialist. I shared how we escaped from Iran in 1989 during the war, lived in a refugee camp in Germany for 2 years, and then moved to California when I was 12. George was a great listener and had that gift of making me feel like he really cared. He said, "Why don't you go study why America has the most immigrants out of all the countries in the world? Why don't you go study capitalism and see why it's the greatest system? What people around the world want more than anything is freedom. Go find out why so many people hate capitalism so you can see the other side." He also told me to find out why there's only one country in the world whose name is identified with the word dream. There's no Russian dream or Chinese dream. There's only the American dream. I took that advice to heart. I thanked him for his time, and as soon as I left, I started studying. I say all the time that you can predict success by how quickly people move at the speed of instruction. Whether it's feedback from a mentor or a book recommendation from a friend, watch how quickly people act on this advice, and you'll learn a lot. After speaking with George Will, I read everything I could about immigration, capitalism, and political science. I didn't need motivation to study. I couldn't think about much else besides the American dream and the history behind it. The next day, we had our 10 a.m. Saturday sales meeting. I loved these Saturday meetings. Coming up with new messages to inspire people was one of the highlights of my week. But for the past few months, something was different. Looking back, I can see that I was in the process of discovering my real mission and recreating myself. This meeting was different. George Will's speech had ignited my mission. I gave a 19-minute speech about the future of America. I had never talked like a patriot before, and my intensity level was off the charts. Many people at the meeting were first-generation Americans. I challenged them in a tone that surprised even me as I asked, "Why did your parents come to this country?" I had never felt so alive. Everybody was looking at me funny, saying how much my message had changed. I normally would only talk about dreams. But this speech was different. Everything was about keeping freedom in America. Why did so many people leave Iran? Why did so many people leave Russia? Why does every other country in the world talk about the American dream? I was lit up. I had connected to my mission, and from that point on, I've been on fire. I went from being a guy who had made $1 million but had no direction to being a man on a mission. My mission was, and still is, to use entrepreneurship to solve the world's problems and teach capitalism because the fate of the world depends on it. A few months after George Will's speech, I realized I couldn't live out my mission as a sales leader. I needed real influence. My first move was to present my vision to the large financial services firm that I was affiliated with. It was not received well. They wanted me to be the guy who put up big numbers and talked about results, not ideas. Keeping my mouth shut and cashing checks was never going to fulfill me. That's when I knew I had to risk it all to do it the way I wanted to do it. I needed to do more. I needed to become an entrepreneur. When I started my financial services firm, our mission statement was to bring back the free enterprise system and hope to American families. To this day, I'm convinced that the more people I can show how to make their own money through business, the more problems we will solve and the freer we will be. We'll return to dreams and the dream language I had relied on so much before in the next chapter. Dreams still matter. But it's by design that the mission has to come before the dream. Had I not discovered mine, I'd have all the trappings of a dream life, but I would have felt empty. After George Will's speech, everything completely changed. I had a mission to correct an injustice. Did you also notice how my mission incorporated what I love, freedom, hope, capitalism, what I hate, restrictions, despair, communism, and what bothers me, manipulation, lack of choices? If you haven't already, it's time to begin answering those questions yourself. Replace just with because. Some of you may have read these stories and started writing down your mission. Others of you may be thinking hard about how to define your mission. Then there's some of you who are ready to defend why you don't need one. I've sat with many people who have fought for their reasons not to have a mission. When they spell out what they want to do with their lives, all their statements have one word in common: just. 1. I just want to make a decent living and not have to worry about money. 2. I just want to make enough money so I can travel the world. 3. I just want a simple life where I can serve my church and live in peace. 4. I just want to be able to meet payroll, fund my retirement, and be home for dinner by 6. 5. I just want to build a business that my kids can eventually run. You may think that I'm judging these people for thinking too small. You would be wrong. My issue is that they are the ones diminishing their own mission. By using the word just, they are either limiting themselves or haven't taken the time to recruit their mission. You have to ask yourself why you are using the word just. Is it because you are afraid to fail? Or are you being realistic because you're honest about how much work you are willing to put in? Or is it because you haven't done enough reflection to discover your true mission? Even if you don't want to go beneath the surface, there is a simple tool that will help you refine your mission. Simply remove the word just. Let's look at 2 examples. 1. I just want to make enough money so I can travel the world. 2. I just want a simple life where I can serve my church and live in peace. Now remove the word just. 1. I want to make enough money so I can travel the world. 2. I want a simple life where I can serve my church and live in peace. You have already created a stronger statement. The next leap is to make The decision to transition from I want to I'm on a mission to. 1. I'm on a mission to make enough money so I can travel the world. 2. I'm on a mission to live a simple life where I can serve my church and live in peace. You may be asking, Pat, is that a good enough mission? Only you can answer that question. Say it out loud and see what emotion it stirs up. Say it while looking in the mirror and see what happens to your body language. If it feels good, it probably works. Say it to others and see how you feel. If you're self-conscious, that's telling you something. If you feel a sense of pride, that's also valuable information. These are just a few litmus tests. If you don't feel like your mission is working, keep refining it. Another powerful tool is to add the word because at the end and fill in the rest of the sentence. Ellen Langer, a Harvard psychologist, conducted experiments on how effective the word because is. The key point is that no matter what you say after the word because, the mission becomes more powerful. 1. I'm on a mission to make enough money so I can travel the world. Because you only live once and I'm lucky enough to do what my parents couldn't. 2. I'm on a mission to live a simple life where I can serve my church and live in peace because I'm dedicated to my faith and know that simplicity brings me closer to what matters in life. Let's put it all together and revisit the final mission statement example. Above, I just want to build a business that my kids can eventually run. I get the feeling that this person is afraid to declare what he actually wants, and the choice of words weakens his mission. Take out the word just, add because, and sharpen the words, and it will change to a more honest and more powerful statement. I want to build a business that makes a difference and creates generational wealth because I have what it takes and I love my family. Do you see what just happened? Even though the content of the mission didn't change that much, the impact was substantial. That's a lot different from minimizing it by using the word just. Your mission may or may not change much by the end of this chapter, or even by the end of this month. But if all you do is eliminate the word just, add the word because, and take the time to see how it feels, you are well on your way. SWOT analysis. Getting emotional? Can you feel the blood coursing through your veins? Great. I want you to keep building the muscle of shifting from emotion to logic, because we're going to get more logical to build the plan block. Before you start making any plan, though, you have to orient yourself. When you see a map, the first thing you look for are the words you are here. You can't start making plans before you know where you stand now. SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Depending on where you are in your career, you've either done SWOT analyses dozens of times or this will be the first. Either way, what makes this different is that you are bringing two things to the exercise this time that may not have existed before: emotion and radical honesty. The questions that led you to reflect on your mission likely brought out both confidence and painful truths. You may have said something like, I've always wanted to retire my parents, but I've never been organized enough to reach a six-figure income. With that statement, your weakness is staring right at you. Maybe you said, I'm going to make healthcare more efficient because the solution has yet to be found, and I know I can do it. There's your opportunity. You may also see in that statement that there will be threats from public policy and better capitalized competitors. Or you'll note that your lack of knowledge in technology and analytics may hold you back. The work you do on your mission feeds directly into your plan. Whatever came out of the previous exercises should lead you to plug the information into your SWOT analysis. I recommend you do this for yourself and for your business, knowing there will be some crossover. For your business, you can do this with a team. For now, focus on the personal, so you can start to build your own plan for the year. Strengths: work ethic, coachability, industry knowledge, laser-sharp focus. Weaknesses: leadership, the ability to manage multiple projects, disorganization, listening. Opportunities: scaling the business, opening new markets, being more productive, developing new leaders. Threats: poor health/low energy, losing employees to competitors, running short on capital, interest rates/market conditions. I created that list to give you some ideas, but of course your list is going to be specific to you. If you haven't already integrated your SWOT analysis into your skill building, it's worth revisiting. If, for example, you feel like you're not a good listener and that may cause some of your top performers to leave you, you know what skill you need to work on. Let's explore all 4 quadrants in more detail. Strengths. For strengths, leverage what you do best. Looking at your strengths is a great way to identify your opportunities. If you're a great closer or a great sales trainer, but you're too busy with the day-to-day chores of running the business to do these activities, there's an opportunity. The best solution is to calendar those activities into your week. Maybe you get back to running the sales meeting or at least run a monthly training. Another idea is to let your team know that for big accounts, you want to be in those pitch meetings. If you're a brilliant researcher who keeps getting pulled into writing grants, you have to find a way to get back into the lab. Elon Musk is an engineer at heart who loves to experiment and collaborate with other great thinkers. Even though he gets pulled away for things like compliance and investor relations, for both his sanity and his soul, he needs to find time to tinker. Bottom line, if you're not utilizing your strengths, if you're not doing what created success in the first place, you risk losing that success. Weaknesses. For weaknesses, build skills, delegate, or mitigate. I realized early on in my career that I wasn't the most organized person. I actually think that being disorganized ties into my strength of being creative. My solution is, rather than fixing this weakness, I set up systems so that it doesn't slow me down. That means I delegate and make sure I have organized people in my inner circle. I hired a personal assistant before I was making 6 figures because I knew I would never make 6 figures without one. In my personal life, I trust my wife to handle the kids' activities and our social calendar. She tells me when to show up and that works for me. Most people are very aware of their strengths but have blind spots about their weaknesses. There's something tricky about weaknesses. That's why I often refer to them as leaks. The things you hide from others are also the things you're afraid to acknowledge or write down. You go to the casino too often, but nobody knows about it. You could be addicted to social media. Spend hours on your fantasy football team, stop at the McDonald's drive-thru on your way home from work, or flirt to get attention. Those are all weaknesses that many of us don't want to admit. They drain our energy, wallet, and time. If not addressed, these leaks can turn into downpours that destroy your bottom line and your well-being. Opportunities. For opportunities, keep asking what's possible, don't worry about the how. Opportunities are exciting. This is where you ask a lot of what if questions. What if we can raise our price by 15% without losing any market share? What if we can find a sales leader who can make our existing team better and free me up to work on leadership development? What if we can hire a personal assistant for a few of our executives? How much more productive will they be? What if we can add a new product to our mix? What if we can hire a producer who is so talented that our page views triple? Threats. 4 threats, cultivate a paranoia mindset. What are your threats for the upcoming year and for the next decade? You've brought family into the business. What happens if they start arguing? Like with weaknesses, either you deal with threats directly or you delegate. Do you need to research every topic? Is it better to do it yourself? Or is it worth paying someone else to do that research? For example, if you're a hedge fund investing in emerging markets, there will always be geopolitical threats. You likely don't have the time or resources to stay on top of them, so you contract that out. If poor health, burnout, or low energy are threats, you build that into your plan. It might mean hiring a personal trainer, or it could be installing a gym at your office and hiring someone to teach yoga twice a week. In that case, you are mitigating both a personal threat and a threat to your organization. Notice how emotion and logic are tied into the SWOT analysis. If a threat is losing people, the logical thing is to sit down with your HR team. If you don't have one, sub it out/hire a consultant to work on your compensation plan and your employment contracts. At the same time, figure out how to show people you care so that you create loyalty. If that's a weakness, and it is for many leaders, add "show people that I care" to the weakness column. And build that into your plan. Are you seeing how this is an integrated plan? And are you seeing that you can't work on the plan without working on the person? That person, of course, is the only person you're going to spend every minute of the rest of your life with. You get ahead of the topics to watch. Let's get a bit more specific with the details of your plan. You need to have a list of the most newsworthy topics to follow closely each year in order to plan around them. In some years, it will be elections. In other years, it will be changes to the tax code. These topics and these dates will shape your strategy and your calendar. Plus, by seeing the big picture of the world around you, you start to work more on the business and less in the business. This may seem obvious, but even at business conferences, I'm surprised at the number of hands that don't go up when I ask who reads the Wall Street Journal. We all need to be reading it. Even if you're in a specialized industry, you need to be aware of business and geopolitical news. Talking about COVID-19 will make us all sound like dinosaurs, though. Heading into 2021, it was at the top of everyone's list. You needed a plan to deal with mandates and adapt to working from home. As the narrative and unemployment shift, you have to keep updating your plan to meet the needs of your employees and customers. You can't do this without knowing what's happening around you. And while topics like the supply chain will always be relevant, you need to be much more specific. If, for example, you're in the transportation business, you have to look at railroad strikes, pipeline legislation, and tax incentives for clean energy. If you're in the financial industry, you have to constantly monitor inflation, unemployment, interest rates, and new regulations. There are enough surprises that you'll never be able to see in advance. That's why you need to be way ahead of events that you know will be happening. Don't say you can't predict a labor strike or at least the possibility of one. You know the dates when collective bargaining agreements expire. You know when key employment contracts end. You know what federal, state, and local elections are happening before the year starts. Just as there are topics to pay attention to, there are certain people you should be paying attention to as well. Maybe you know there's a big Executive at a rival company who is rumored to be retiring. You want to watch him or her because it creates both threats and opportunities. A change in leadership means people will be free agents and looking to leave the company. Or maybe the company hires a more aggressive CEO to recruit your people. You need to plan for all of these possibilities. To give you some guidance on creating your topics and people lists, here are things to consider. 1. Industry. 2. Politics. 3. Economy/inflation. 4. Regulation. 5. Key dates for labor contracts. 6. Leaders in transition. Operations plan, calendar the entire year. You're going to have a board meeting on the day of your kid's recital. Your company retreat is going to fall on the same day as your cousin's graduation. This is inevitable. When the late Kobe Bryant played for the Lakers, they almost always had a game on Christmas Day. When I interviewed him, he said he dealt with this by planning out his entire year in advance in order to avoid surprises. Instead of winging it, you get ahead of it. If you know you're going to miss an important event, you schedule time with that person for another day. If you can't see them, you show them extra love and invest in a special gift or gesture. Your calendar has to go 12 months out. For every month, map out every single campaign, retreat, strategy session, board meeting, and quarterly review. Most people have holidays pop up in their calendars. You can start there, as they'll often be reminders. Learn from your mistakes. If you constantly fight with your spouse about your lame approach to Valentine's Day, put it on your calendar for January 14th, 1 month ahead. All you need is to make a note in your calendar to start shopping for a gift or planning an outing. When we discuss the systems building block in the next chapter, I'll show you a few more strategies for how to leverage your calendar. For now, I'll tell you that I'm always at least 1 quarter ahead in my planning. If your sales typically slump in the summer, set up an off-site strategy session on March 1st so you're 10 weeks ahead of it. Go back to your SWOT analysis and your skill set and start to fill in your calendar. Find 3 conferences and schedule them now. When you sign up and pay the deposit, you've taken an important step toward addressing a weakness. Plan for the crisis before it happens. In my last book, Your Next 5 Moves, we looked closely at grandmasters in chess and how they see 15 moves ahead. When creating your business plan, you need to anticipate and make the shift from being reactive to being proactive. You do so by making contingency plans long before a crisis happens. Seth Godin, author of numerous bestsellers including Tribes and The Song of Significance, said, "The most exciting thing about professional project management is that it trades away excitement for systems thinking and intentional action. We make heroes out of people who show up with the last-minute save, but the real work is in not needing the last minute. If you live in New Orleans, the Philippines, or Florida, and you're not thinking about hurricanes or typhoons, you're being naive. You need a plan in place before they hit. To do so, study history. What patterns do they follow? What do you need to do well in advance? Our financial services company's headquarters are in Dallas, Texas. We've experienced multiple tornadoes and even winter freezes. Pipes blowing up, power outages, and slick roads led to schools shutting down. And our IT systems as well. All of these events required us to anticipate the worst-case scenario and be prepared for it. Whether it was buying laptops or hotspots, we always had a contingency plan in case the internet didn't work at our office or employees' homes. When a crisis does hit, whether it's a natural disaster or only related to your business, what extends or decreases the lifespan of a crisis? Your planning or, in some cases, lack of planning. There is nothing you can do to prevent a crisis from happening. You can, however, minimize the impact of it based on how you react to it. Dwight D. Eisenhower said, "In preparing for battle I have always found that plans are useless, but planning is indispensable." Ike wasn't quite as creative as the British Army, which invented an adage called the 7 Ps. Proper planning and preparation prevents piss-poor performance. Having a plan in place creates poise as a leader. We all have the potential to come unglued. The ones who remain calm are the ones who have already played out the scenario in advance. When a crisis happens, some overreact and some underreact. Think about crises on a scale from 1 to 10. A 9 increases your urgency. You turn a 9 into a 2 and you're in trouble. Your ability to see 5 to 15 moves ahead allows you to anticipate a crisis. When it's already been addressed in your business, it allows you to handle it with precision. I put plans in place for all scenarios, both good and bad, to happen. Some say I'm being negative or pessimistic. I call it logical crisis planning because when the crisis comes, I don't want to be all those negative words that often get labeled as emotion. When things go down, the last thing I want is to be impulsive, irrational, melodramatic, temperamental, or hot-blooded. I want to have already thought through my moves. I do everything I can to prevent bad things from happening, and I also map out my first 3 to 5 moves if something bad does happen. There's a reason I use the metaphor of chess in business. It's also why I study the mafia so much. Expert planning means seeing things before they happen. Maybe somebody on the inside's trying to make a power play. You have to see that before it takes hold. Maybe you need to strengthen relationships with your key players. Maybe you need to get a little closer. If your team members are intimidated by you, they're going to withhold information. They'll hide bad news from you to avoid feeling your wrath. That creates a lot of risk to the sustainability of your business. Start interacting with your team more and get to know them better. Show them that you care to build loyalty. If you really want to build depth, ask them who their enemies are. Threats are always lurking. If you're constantly in your office with the door closed, you're going to miss a lot. Walk around and circulate among the troops. If most of your work is virtual, call and text more. Make unannounced office visits. Keep an eye out for signs of unrest. Then start to play the if game. If I lose my biggest customer, what happens? When I ask that question, I start working on how I can prevent that from happening. Maybe I've taken that customer for granted. It's a common but reckless mistake to put all your energy into customer acquisition and neglect your current customers. You fall into the bad habit of letting everybody else on your team deal with your customers. Maybe you have to pick up the phone more, schedule an in-person meeting, or send a gift. Do you see the pattern? Identify the threat or potential crisis. Then create a plan to address it before it happens. Keep asking yourself questions like, if I lose my biggest sales rep or biggest revenue producer, what happens? That question takes you down a similar path. What do you need to do to prevent a superstar from leaving you? How's your relationship with her, on a scale from 0 to 10? Let's say you rate it a 5. Well, maybe you've got to take her out to an event and spend some time with her and her family too. Show her how much you care about her. She needs to know that. That's part of your plan. Here are some other what-ifs to consider. 1. If my current office doesn't work out and I'm forced to relocate. What happens? 2. What if we run short on cash? 3. If I go on disability for 3 months, what's the replacement plan? 4. What's the impact of labor or material costs rising? 5. What if we get sued? 6. If we have to scale up quickly to hire more staff, how do we speed up the process? Are we better off adding to our HR team or hiring a recruiting firm? An even better way to ask questions is to build in solutions to the question. When you frame a question this way, you move directly to action. For example, if my staff tries to unionize or goes on strike, what are my first 3 moves? See how you created a better question? When you frame the question by asking what your next 3 to 5 moves are, it gets you moving to create concrete plans. Consider question 5. What if we get sued? Do you see how this question doesn't put you in solution mode? It's better to ask, if we get sued, what are our first 3 moves? If move 1 is finding an attorney and you don't have one, you've exposed a weakness. You need to act now so you have legal counsel standing by. Open-ended questions are only a little better. A fair answer to if we run short on cash, what happens, might be we panic. Or you might say, we'll set up a line of credit. By then, it's too late. Wouldn't it be better if you had planned 3 moves ahead for running short on cash? Those moves might be to 1. Tap into an existing line of credit. 2. Suspend all unnecessary travel and all but urgent new hires. 3. Re-engage with Susan, who had inquired about an equity stake in the company. These are the types of questions you need to be asking and answering. I ask them of my team all the time. When I ask a what-if question and a person says, I don't know, do you know what I say? I know exactly what will happen. You are going to freak out because you don't have a plan. If you haven't thought about it before it happens, you've set yourself up for failure. The simple step of planning for a crisis and mapping out at least 3 moves is a critical part of your business plan. Keep your mission current. I mentioned that shortly after hearing George Will's speech, I started my own firm in 2009. In 2022, I sold that firm for multi-9 figures. On the day the deal closed, did anything change about my mission? Did I stop making content? Did I shut down Valuetainment? Did I stop working on Saturdays? If I have more money than I need to live, why am I not slowing down? My mission was never about becoming rich. Money was simply a byproduct of my mission, which means it will never be complete. There will always be problems to solve, entrepreneurs who need guidance, and threats to capitalism. That being said, the specifics of your mission may change. For me, the big picture stays constant. My mission will always be to elevate, empower, and influence. I want to be a kingmaker, meaning that when I pour my leadership into someone, they reach new heights. One way to keep your mission current is with your language. Even as things change, be vigilant about being a person who says I just want to, versus one who says I'm on a mission to person. Use your mission to build your plan. After I heard George Will's speech, I told myself, there's no way in the world that I'm here to do something small. Neither are you. Nobody who has read or listened this far was put here to do something small with their life. As you learned in this building block, you have to put in the time to recruit your mission. Some of that is downtime. Remember that the work is allowing your mission to come through. Once it does, the logical part of your plan will follow effortlessly. The biggest thing I want you to remember for planning is to anticipate. Always be at least 3 to 5 moves ahead. Very little should catch you off guard. When a crisis does occur, the cautious majority will panic. When you're part of the audacious few, you are already in solution mode, taking steps that have been well rehearsed. Your blocks. Mission. Action. 1. How will you recruit your mission? What questions must you ask to find the fire inside of you? 2. What cause are you fighting for? What injustice are you correcting? What crusade are you leading? 3. What are the things you love? What are the things you hate that you would finally feel brave enough to fight against? What are the things that bother you, that you would want to change? 4. Write out a mission without the word just and with the word because. 5. Do at least 2 litmus tests to see how it feels. A. Say it out loud. B. Say it in front of the mirror and watch your body language. C. Say it to others and make note of how you feel. 6. Be honest about getting complacent. If you feel bored, have plateaued, or are distracted by toys, it's a sign to revisit your mission. Plan. Action. 1. Complete a SWOT analysis. Be honest about your weaknesses/leaks and get excited asking what-if questions. 2. Based on the SWOT analysis, plan out improvements for 3 areas in your business. 3. List the 3 to 5 moves you would make if you suddenly had to go on disability or sick leave, or if a disaster occurred and you were no longer there to run your company. 4. Ask if questions for at least 7 scenarios and make sure you map out at least your first 3 to 5 moves. Chapter 7. Dreams and Systems. Bad habits repeat themselves again and again, not because you don't want to change, but because you have the wrong system for change. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. James Clear, Atomic Habits. I fell in love with baseball at age 13. I had barely been in America for a year, and it became my obsession. I didn't like books back then, but I loved the daily news because the sports section had the most statistics. Baseball captured my attention, because there was more data to analyze than in the other sports. When I got lost in the numbers of batting averages and on-base percentages, my mind would wander. I had no talent for the game, and I was never on an organized team, but I still had a dream of one day playing in the major leagues. A lot of kids get to play out their fantasies on little league fields. I buried my nose in the magazine Beckett, which listed the price of every baseball card. Each month, I would get a new issue and look up the value of the cards of my favorite players, Joe DiMaggio, Lou Gehrig, Yogi Berra, Babe Ruth, and Mickey Mantle. I thought to myself, what if one day I could own a Babe Ruth rookie card? That was second on my list behind a 1952 Mickey Mantle Topps card. Back then, it was valued at $33,000. In 2023, there are only 3 1952 Mickey Mantle Topps cards graded PSA 10, and they are worth between $20 and $30 million. At least I don't have to kick myself for not buying it, since I didn't exactly have 33 grand sitting in my savings account back then. These cards were the gateway to my dreams. I remember, in 8th grade, walking home on Verdugo Road in Glendale with my friends from Wilson Junior High School. I would ask, can you imagine if, one day, you could own a Major League Baseball team? Which team would it be? Most said our hometown Dodgers, and one of my buddies, who loved Ted Williams, said, "The Boston Red Sox." Because of the cards, my answer was always the Yankees. The New York Yankees. It was a crazy dream. It made no sense. If I had said that I actually believed this dream would ever come true, I would have been committed to an insane asylum. But every great achievement starts with a thought, and every audacious goal begins with a dream. In this chapter, I invite you to dream big. I challenge you to come up with ideas that will make people question your sanity. It's only by thinking this way that the impossible can happen. I'm talking about something as crazy as my becoming an owner of not just any major league franchise but the one in the Bronx that has won 27 World Series titles. When I got the call with the opportunity to be a minority owner of the New York Yankees, it took me back to Verdugo Road and my childhood dream. I had been looking at other ownership opportunities in sports, but when the Yankees called, I immediately told my lawyer to start the process. Between Major League Baseball and the Yankees, there were 13 months of background checks and interviews. Just when it seemed like there weren't any more tests to pass, the last step was to fly to the Bronx for one of the most important meetings of my life. I sat in a room with 4 members of the top Yankee brass: Hal Steinbrenner, managing general partner and co-chairperson; Randy Levine, president; Lon A. Trost, chief operating officer; and Tony Bruno, chief financial officer of Yankee Global Enterprises. It turned out that the interview was the easiest part. They were my kind of guys, open, respectful, and not afraid of the truth. Finally, in June 2023, when I was in Bermuda, my lawyer called and said, "Congratulations, you're officially an owner of the New York Yankees. My 1.8 GPA and I now get to sit in the owner's box and get the best seat in the house to see all the retired jerseys, all the championship banners, and all the ghosts of the players whose cards I used to dream about." Sure, it's been fun to acquire many of the cards, and I still dream about that 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle. But to become a minority owner of the New York Yankees still beats them all. It reminds me that no dream is too big and to keep dreaming. If you want to be a part of the audacious few, you must start with audacious dreams. Most people bother to dream only once per year. Every new year offers a fresh start and a chance to make resolutions. So why is it that New Year's resolutions have a 92% failure rate? And why is it that, despite that failure rate, almost half of American adults make at least one resolution every year? As we talked about earlier, 50% of businesses fail within 5 years and 70% fail within 10 years. So why do people keep writing ineffective business plans? It's because they still have dreams and have the ability to tap into emotion, but they're usually missing the logical systems. We already know that emotion is critical to a successful business plan. As a leader, as I mentioned in the last chapter, I'm constantly speaking the dream language. I share stories about my 4 kids. I talk about the arguments I have with my wife. I tear up when I talk about my dad. I also talk about how broke I was and how ashamed I felt when I couldn't afford to pay my dad's medical bills or had $49,000 in credit card debt. It's not as depressing as it sounds. Mixed in with my struggles are reminders of what I said at my lowest points, what kept me motivated, and how I've always used my haters as fuel. But I also know how to tie these stories back to the systems that keep the company running. My business meetings are equal parts dream casting and analytics-driven strategy sessions. We tie our dreams to logical systems so that there are clear actions to take to build our envisioned future. What you will learn in this chapter. I think of systems as dream-making machines. You could also call systems hero-making machines. The dream may be to win the Mr. Olympia competition. The systems are the workouts, nutrition, supplements, recovery, and stretching. Equally important is the sequencing of these systems and the commitment to refining and reinforcing each step. 7 steps to create a dream-making machine. 1. Speak the dream language at least 20% of the time. 2. Turn your dreams into specific goals. 3. Make your goals visual. 4. Create the systems to make your dreams and goals a reality. 5. Analyze data and trends to improve the systems. 6. Keep refining existing systems and look to create new ones. 7. Remember to always speak the dream language and make it emotional. Dreams spark the fire and make you, or your team, want to achieve, but without systems to accomplish tasks, you won't be able to channel that emotion to drive success. Plus, if every time you take action to accomplish your dream, you have to create a new system, inefficiency will kill you. That's why it's so important to create systems that are duplicatable. In this chapter, you will learn how to speak the dream language to others. In fact, as a rule, I tell my executive team that everything they say has to be at least 20% dream language. You can't ask people to execute before getting them to see where it's going and tapping into what their hearts desire. If the dream excites you, you'll work as much as you need. Thinking about what you want is the dream. The emotion comes from picturing what your life will look like when you achieve your goals. If the plan is clear, you and your team will know how to create systems to direct your energy and accomplish tasks. Learn the dream language. Imagine if one day. Since most people are short-term thinkers who struggle to delay gratification, it's up to the leader to describe how a person's life will look a year from now, a decade from now, and 50 years from now, depending on the effort they put in today. Use your talent and passion as a dreamcaster to show people what their life will look like when they take the disciplined path. Do the same for yourself. Most people are so caught up in the here and now that they don't even try to see the future. A great prompt is: imagine if one day that's how my dream to own part of the Yankees started. Take a moment now to fill in what comes next. Allow yourself to dream. Imagine if one day I win the Nobel Prize, launch a billion-dollar IPO, discover a cure for cancer, revolutionize secondary school education, love what I do so much that it doesn't feel like work. Another simple prompt for the dream language is: it would be incredible 2. Live in a house with a view of the ocean. Send my kids to the best private school. Look at my bank balance and see another zero. Never have to look at the prices on a menu or travel site. Here are a few other prompts to tap into your dreams. 1. What would my life look like if? 2. What I'm aiming to get for myself and my family is? 3. What I most look forward to is? 4. My bucket list includes. I can only get you started. Remember that the reason to think about your dreams is to create emotion. Keep using these prompts until you get to a place where these dreams excite you. Goals are dreams with deadlines and rewards. I had a sales rep who made $36,000 in 1 year. He wrote a killer business plan, worked tirelessly on his skill gaps, and created efficient systems. The following year, things started to click, and he made $72,000 in 1 month. When I asked him how he celebrated, he looked totally confused. I asked, "Did you take your wife to a luxury hotel for a staycation? Did you at least go to a high-end restaurant? Did you buy a new suit?" I heard nothing but crickets. He didn't do one thing to celebrate. The next month, his income went from $72,000 to $5,400. Because he hadn't rewarded himself the previous month, his subconscious was wondering, why am I busting my tail for nothing? By sitting in the bank, that money didn't create any emotion. His problem was that he hadn't experienced the emotions from the reward that would drill into his subconscious the value of hard work. Most people are very good at rewarding themselves when they make money, and more often than not, they overdo it. But every once in a while, it's the complete opposite. Both you and your family have to see the reward of you're working as hard as you are, or else what's the point? Why would you keep putting in the effort? Thinking about how you will celebrate makes your dreams come alive. The emotion generated by this building block comes from picturing what your life will look like when you achieve your dreams. What's the I word that's so important in capitalism? Incentive. What if you hoop some ass this year? What are you going to do? Your psyche has to be rewarded for paying a price. You program your psyche by using a reward to reinforce your dream. When you decide on the award in advance of achieving your dream, you are programming your mind to believe I'm willing to pay a price because this reward is going to happen. This is a continuous feedback loop that you must integrate into your plan. Before we return to rewards, let's talk about goals. Goals are the specific outcomes we aim for on our way to achieving our dreams. Dreams direct our energy, goals take that direction and create a laser focus. When goals are specific and measurable, giving us deadlines and putting rewards in place, they work. Effective goals. Specific. Measurable. Have a deadline. Rewards in place. When I do X, I will treat myself to Y. When I do X, I will treat my friends and family to Y. A powerful dream becomes a future truth. Walt Disney was on a mission to make people happy. That made him excited to get out of bed every morning. But it didn't direct his actions. He needed to take the next step by declaring specific dreams. Turning his mission into dreams would look this. My dream is to have a theme park that's the happiest place on earth. My dream is to create movies that make people happy. My dream is to have an experimental prototype community of tomorrow, Epcot, that creates a happy and healthy community. We have a tendency to use the words dreams and goals interchangeably. Notice that I listed Walt Disney's dreams and not his goals. If they were goals, they would be specific and have a deadline. Both have their place. There's benefit in dreaming without knowing exactly when and how you will get there. There are other times when you want to be crystal clear on the action plan and time frame. Whether you are talking about dreams or goals, they must make you emotional. They also have to find that delicate balance of being a stretch and being attainable. Having 500,000 licensed agents by 2029 seemed like a stretch, but for me, anything less would not have fired me up. It would have felt like settling, a concession to mediocrity. I agree with Richard Branson's quote that if your dreams don't scare you, they are too small. Jay-Z said, I believe you can speak things into existence. Some may say, that's impossible. Others go to the other extreme and believe that words alone can make a difference. They think if they pray long enough or keep making positive affirmations, results will follow. What I've learned is that without the belief and the systems to go along with those dreams, it won't be enough. It's like that expression trust in God, but lock your car. You need to do your part. When you are talking a big game and putting in the effort to get there, you become that powerful person on a mission and your success Reinforces itself. You get to a point where your dreams become your future truth. My definition of future truth is to live in the present as if what you're aiming for has already become a reality. I express my dreams with the conviction that they are going to happen. I've seen time and time again how that conviction is contagious. If you don't 100% believe it, no one will. If you really are working with the focus, urgency, and conviction of someone living their future truth, you will be inspired. This will create a chain reaction in which other people will get inspired by you. It's the reason we're enamored with visionaries. If everything you do is consistent with a person who is on a mission and committed to his or her dreams, you will get others to follow you. Make your dreams and goals visual. Take the time now to figure out how you will make your dreams visual, so they are staring you in the face every day. Put your dreams in front of you. Make vision boards. See how your mission feeds into your dreams. For example, I made vision boards relating to lifestyle, the things I wanted. Market domination, I don't want to just compete, that's how I'm wired. And people who have made history, they move me and I dream of joining them. How will you create visuals that are constantly connecting you to your dreams? Because I was once a Hummer mechanic, I had a dream of one day buying a yellow Hummer. I gave myself the goal of increasing my savings to $1 million in 12 months. If I hit this goal, I told myself, only then could I begin the process of buying the yellow Hummer. My first step? I put a picture of a yellow Hummer in 20 different places. I couldn't even see the speedometer on my car because there was a picture of a yellow Hummer there. On my phone, a yellow Hummer. On my mirror, a yellow Hummer. When I would open up my wallet, a yellow Hummer. I used every visual I could think of to imprint this yellow Hummer in my conscious and subconscious mind. And guess what? A year later, I got the yellow Hummer. It has to be in front of your face all the time. I encourage you to get creative. It may help to have a friend who is good at Photoshop or add that to your skill list. If your dream, for example, is to retire your parents, on the screensaver for your phone or computer, put a picture of them with big smiles sitting on the porch of the house you're going to buy them. There is a Jewish tradition in which a mezuzah, a parchment with religious text, is placed on the doorframe of a home. What's written on the parchment comes from this passage in Deuteronomy 6:9, and you shall inscribe them upon the doorposts of your house and upon your gates, in order that your days and the days of your children shall increase, on the land which the Lord swore to your forefathers to give to them, as the days of heaven above the earth. After the mezuzah is placed on the doorframe, every time a Jewish person enters their home, they have a visual reminder of their dreams. What symbol or visual will you use to keep your dreams constantly in front of you? Like all strategies, there is risk when you don't execute well. Don't put up a bunch of motivational posters in your office that don't mean anything. If you hang a bunch of generic signs with goals that you are not actively driving, you become a cliché. The better move is to make your own signs that fit your dreams and build traditions around them. At the University of Notre Dame, there's a sign in the tunnel between the locker room and the football field that says, "Play like a champion today." As the football players pass the sign on their way to the field, it's a visual cue to uphold the university's tradition and give their all each game. In the conference room at Valuetainment, we had an artist paint the following quotation from William Goldman: "Nobody knows anything. Not one person in the entire motion picture field knows for a certainty what's going to work. Every time out it's a guess and, if you're lucky, and educated. 1. We did this because we want to make visual our dream of being a company that encourages creativity and risk-taking. We want the idea that every creative endeavor requires risk inscribed on our walls, so it becomes inscribed in our subconscious minds. Here are some other places for visuals. Bathroom mirror. Photos in your wallet. Vision boards placed in strategic locations. Phone and computer screensavers. Art you create for your home and/or office. Systems make the dream work. Up until now, we have focused on the dream building block. It's time to turn our attention to the systems that allow you to accomplish your goals. 4. Example, let's say your goal is to add another zero to your bank account in a set period of time. Whether you're aiming to go from $10,000 to $100,000, $1 million to $10 million, or $100 million to $1 billion, the system will be the same. For this example, let's say you want to go from $10,000 to $100,000 in 3 years. That's 90 grand in 36 months, which means you need to put away $2,500 per month. One of the best systems for saving money is to pay your savings first. Most people do the opposite. They see what's left at the end of the month and then save it. That is a system, albeit a lousy one. When you pay your savings first, you hit your goal right away and often don't even miss the money. Just as you automatically pay your rent, car insurance, and cell phone bill, the savings becomes a fixed, automatic cost. Let's say you're early in your business career and can only do $1,500 per month. Now you need to either make $12,000 a year more or spend $12,000 less. Maybe you pick a side hustle as a bartender or Uber driver where you can earn $500 per weekend. Do it twice a month and you're there. If that starts getting old, you build up the wins and confidence to ask for a raise. Maybe that gets you $700 per month, and you can cut out a few happy hours to save $300. At that point, start paying your savings $2,500 first. It won't take but 1 or 2 times for you to run short of money at the end of month to alter your spending. Plus, it may not even bother you to eat ramen noodles for a few days because you know it's part of your dream-making system. It's amazing how your perspective will change when you're working toward a specific goal. Use this same process for all your goals. Let's say you want to buy a $1 million house. The rule of thumb is that a home should cost no more than 2.5 times your annual salary. Also, to avoid private mortgage insurance, and to increase your chances of winning a bid to buy the house, you want to put down 20%. Devise a system to save $200,000 and have a $400,000 annual income. Dreaming about the house is the start. Creating a specific goal with a deadline is the next step. To make the dream a reality, you must put the systems in place and follow through. Develop systems for everything. Earlier, I mentioned Steve Jobs wearing his trademark black turtleneck, sneakers, and jeans. That was his system for getting dressed. It was automated to require the least amount of thought. You have a system for brushing your teeth, doing the dishes, and getting to sleep. These have all become automatic. I recently taught my oldest son the system for putting on cologne. Spray on left wrist, rub wrists together, then rub each wrist on one side of your neck. This will soon become automatic for him. When I first started out in sales, I didn't have any systems. I didn't know how to prepare for the week, manage my time, or follow up with a prospect. I May have been at the office for 12 hours a day, but I only actually worked 3 or 4. I was so disorganized that I spent half my day chasing my own tail. Systems and technology go hand in hand. Even the calendar on your smartphone can be a huge asset. With any content management system, CMS, you can systemize your follow-up. A CMS like HubSpot or MailChimp can easily automate specific emails to follow up with customers. And though fans of artificial intelligence will tell you otherwise, it doesn't mean that a CMS can think for you. You have to design the system to meet your needs. Once you do that, you combine technology, delegating, and commitment to get things done. Maybe you have a system where, after every appointment, your assistant has a thank you card on your desk with the address already filled in. You come back, and boom, without thinking, that card gets written. As your team grows, you may need a new system. Some years, I have sent out more than 35,000 cards. I couldn't handwrite all of them without my arm falling off. That's why I use a company called Send Out Cards. I can say all I want about how much I care about making people feel special, but without the system I created using Send Out Cards, I wouldn't have been able to deliver these special touches of gratitude and recognition. I bet some of you have already identified systems as a weakness. It's common for visionaries and big picture thinkers. It had been one of my weaknesses before I became a CEO, though I managed to work around it. Then, when I became a CEO, it didn't take long to see how it was a leak. If I had to start from scratch every time I gave a presentation, onboard the new hire, ran a meeting, or delivered an annual review, I was going to be fighting uphill to accomplish dreams. My dreams moved me. They got me out of bed ready to go to war every day. But without systems, I was an ineffective CEO. I simply couldn't outwork bad systems. As I mentioned earlier, I caught a break when the movie Moneyball came out in 2011. At that point, I was 2 years into running my company, and my lack of systems was becoming a liability. Because I had been so into baseball statistics as a kid, the movie finally gave me a new perspective. Too many people make the mistake of thinking that most things depend on instincts and situational strategies. These types of people were depicted in Moneyball as the dinosaurs who fell behind in the race. The baseball scouts who failed to embrace analytics got replaced by those who relied on data, like Paul DePodesta, played by Jonah Hill. Instead of having the patience, humility, and long-term view to design systems and analyze data, the dinosaurs convinced themselves that there couldn't be a system to analyze. Players. The equivalent in business are the people who don't think you can design systems for interviews, developing leaders, or making acquisitions. These are the same people who are saying AI isn't for them and that they'll leave it to the techies. They are in for a rude awakening. That's not to say that you never have to think or make adjustments, but that's the type of mentality that will kill your efficiency and prevent you from scaling. Use systems to automate behavior. We have already discussed the importance of analyzing each quarter and updating your strategy. It's embedded into your business planning map. Many things are in 3-month cycles. Spring cleaning is great for both your personal and business life. As a reward for cleaning out your garage, treat yourself to a car detail. For your business, get the whole team involved. Hire an artist, and after you clean and organize the office, have the artist paint a mural on one of your inside or outside walls. Since we're talking about systems related to the calendar, one of the most brilliant innovative campaigns ever designed was by Jiffy Lube. As part of their marketing, they convinced people to change their oil every 3,000 miles. I was a Hummer mechanic in the Army, and I can tell you that for most cars, you only need to change the oil every 7,500 to 10,000 miles. But what made Jiffy Lube's strategy so effective was that there was a system and a visual reminder. After every oil change, they put a sticker on your windshield with an odometer reading for your next oil change. You couldn't not see it. Imagine the systems it replaced, maintaining a database, direct mail or email, and couponing. How can you create systems for yourself and for your customers? How can you get people to act automatically like Jiffy Lube did? How do you get yourself to take consistent action without having to think? What can you automate? Use trends and analytics to create systems. Peter Drucker, the author and founder of Modern Management, said, "If you can't measure it, you can't change it, and what gets measured gets managed." When you gather the data to track the viability of your systems get better. When your systems get better, achieving your dreams will become easier than ever. You need data to answer the following questions. What trends did you notice? Were there spikes/dips in revenue/production? Once you've analyzed that data, how will you address these trends? You've done some of this work in Chapter 2 when you looked at the previous year. The next step is to create systems to gather data, analyze it, and plan strategies based on what you've learned. The engineers and accountants love this section, and the visionaries are smart enough to see its importance. The audacious few understand that only with efficient systems can dreams be achieved. Most businesses have some level of seasonality. That's why retailers have created events such as back-to-school sales and why online retailers created Cyber Monday. The problem is that this can create lazy thinking. Rather than create systems to address trends, too many people just accept that certain months are slow. Mondays and Tuesdays are your slowest nights at the restaurant. Do you just accept that? Maybe you close Monday to decrease labor costs and give your managers a break. Then you make Tuesday half-priced taco night. By the way, do you see how Taco Tuesday has become a systematic reminder for tacos? How can you create a systematic reminder that creates the type of consumer behavior that impacts your business? Ski resorts in places like Colorado used to sell out in the winter and sit empty in the summer. I bet someone with a mission to create the best outdoor adventures had a dream to make active vacations fun. The next step was to have a goal of running a resort at 85% occupancy year-round. That's the big picture framework. The next logical step was to analyze data. What months had the lowest occupancy? How were their competitors doing during those months? What other innovative campaigns had been used? I know this is starting to sound like a marketing problem, but stay with me, and you'll see that we're talking about systems. The point is, you need a system to gather data, analyze it, and then build strategies. Too many people wait for problems to occur and then look for band-aid solutions. The hotel has been nearly empty this week. Let's run some ads on Instagram and lower our prices on Expedia. That's not a system, that's a shotgun reaction that occurs when you fail to plan. If you're feeling some pain for not having good data, that's okay. It took me years of suffering without the right data to embrace systems. You simply can't write an effective plan without incorporating analytics. Your first resolution as you start your new business plan has to be getting better at tracking data. If you're sitting here a year from now without a system to gather, analyze, and utilize data, you're leaving tons of money on the table. Numbers to measure. Every month's record. Every quarter's record. Next year's goals. Revenue/net profit. New subscribers/customers. You need data to answer the following broad questions. 1. What will you measure? How will you measure? 2. What's your strategy for analytics next year? 3. What trends did you notice? 4. How do you create incentives to balance spikes/dips in revenue/production? 5. Why will next year be different? When I started gathering data at my insurance company, I changed the compensation plan and how we ran innovative campaigns. I invested millions of dollars in a proprietary software named Bamboo because of the edge it gave me. Data changed the way I managed, which changed our systems. As a result, we built a dream-making machine. When you see a problem or an opportunity, I want you to shift your thinking from "we need a solution for that" to "we need a system for that." A solution is a one-time fix that requires you to keep reinventing the wheel and puts you in a reactionary place. A system is an ongoing activity that becomes duplicatable. Systems turn time into money. A major part of systems is having the right people manage projects for me so I can be as efficient as possible. As a former mechanic in the army, I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty. In fact, I enjoy shining shoes and ironing clothes. It wasn't until I realized how valuable my time was that I had to stop doing these things myself. Then, gradually, I started asking, what's the next thing I can have someone else do that I no longer need to do? The formula is the following: what do you know for a fact that your hour is worth? If next week you were able to find an additional 10 hours, how much money could you make with that additional time? If your value is $50 an hour, make a list of things that cost less than $50 an hour. If you can hire someone to shine shoes for $10 or dry clean a week's worth of clothes for under $30, then find people to do that work. When I first started trying this, I wasn't fully sold on the concept that I could really replace those 10 hours with what I was worth. It takes a small leap of faith to start spending money on things you used to do yourself. It only took me 4 weeks to realize how valuable those hours were for me. As my hourly rate increased, so did the number of tasks I delegated. I went from 1 personal assistant to 2. Now all I think about is how I can get my hours back to increase my efficiency. That's why I'm constantly in the process of finding strong project managers. Project managers come in different shapes and forms. It's not just managing projects to develop a new technology, for example. It could be managing personal events, birthday parties, even health. Doctor's appointments are a drain on productivity, especially when they are spaced out. That's why, for me and our C-suite, we do executive health testing. At places like the Mayo Clinic, UCLA Medical Center, or the Cleveland Clinic, you can see 9 doctors in one day, from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m., instead of having to schedule 9 different appointments over a span of 6 weeks and driving to 9 different locations. How many wasted hours have I saved by doing that? Counting driving time, gas cost, waiting 9 different times for doctors who are not famous for being on time with their appointments. I would rather spend $3,000 to $5,000 to have it all done on the same day. I couldn't afford it when I first heard about this, but I was able to do it at UCLA when I was 30 years old. By then, my hourly value justified the expense, and I was blown away by the experience. It all boils down to a very simple formula. Time is money. Systems save you time. Saved time makes you money. As part of your plan, keep finding systems that free up your time. Become childlike. I saved the most important question in this chapter for last. What makes you feel like a child again? What makes you feel like a kid on Christmas morning? How can you get to a place where you feel like that almost every day? When I see a stale organization, a place where results have plateaued and people are going through the motions, I can instantly identify the culprit. The leaders have stopped dreaming. When that happens, everyone stops dreaming. And what stands in the place of an organization on a mission is a dull place, where people dread coming to work every day. For the greatest organizations in the world, the dream machine is always working. The leaders know how to move people. They constantly speak the dream language in a way that connects with people's emotions. Their imaginations run wild, and they become childlike. And, yes, there is a system to casting dreams. Decide on the rewards in advance. Make them specific and have a deadline. Find smart ways to measure them. Dreams and systems, emotion and logic. Wash, rinse, repeat. Your blocks. Dream. Action. 1. What dream gets you fired up? What specific words will you use to articulate this dream that force you to stretch, yet still allow the dream to feel attainable? 2. Declare your dream as a future truth and start to live in the present as if your future truth has already become a reality. 3. Convert dreams into goals by making them specific and measurable, with a deadline and a reward once you achieve. 4. Pay attention to your language. See if you are casting dreams at least 20% of the time when you are speaking to your team and even speaking to yourself. 5. Make a list of 5 to 7 statements beginning with imagine if one day, and / or create a bucket list to drill down and find your true dreams. Systems. Action. 1. Put systems in place for every quarter. Right now, go into your calendar and list 2 actions that will support your dreams in your personal life and 2 in your business for every change of season. 2. Put systems in place to gather, analyze, and implement data. 3. How can you automate your life and business? What systems will allow you to buy back time so you can be more efficient? 4. Find ways to buy back time. Figure out your hourly rate and delegate all activities that cost less than what you make.